Hello BookTube, it's Brecky from Brecky Writes, and this is Brecky Reads. It's time for my Underhyped Reads Readathon wrap-up. Now, I was able to get through 3 of the books on my TBR list for my Underhyped Reads Readathon. The first one that I finished this week was The Accident Season by Moira Fowley-Doyle. The Accident Season follows a 17-year-old girl named Kara and her sister Alice, her best friend Bea, and her ex-stepbrother Sam as they try to survive the month of October. Every October, Kara and her family face an uncanny number of accidents. And this year is no different. They are tripping on things, they are having to worry about near misses in car accidents, and knives that seem to slip uncannily. This year, unlike other years, Kara notices that a classmate named Elsie appears in all of her family photographs. And so while Kara is trying to survive the accident season, she's also beginning to search for the mystery of Elsie and how Elsie and the accident season might be intertwined. I loved this book. It was a 4.5-star read. I found that the use of magical realism to tell a story that otherwise might be a little overdone in YA made this a standout novel. I described it in my Goodreads review as like an Irish fairy tale meets Perks of Being a Wallflower with all the teenage angst and coming of ageness and trying to define your identity. One of the things I liked most about this novel is that it's told from Kara's perspective, and Kara happens to see or to project an alternative image of herself and her friends that follows her progress as she's solving Elsa's mystery, as she's uncovering family secrets. And I find that these projections are some of the most beautiful imagery that you find throughout the novel. I highly suggest picking The Accident Season up. This is a little bit creepy. It has a definite creeper atmosphere, and if you are looking for something that you could save to read over October or over Halloween, this would definitely be a good one. If you're looking for a relatively quick read, this is just shy of 300 pages and a book that still packs a punch. The Accident Season is definitely one that I would pick up, and I hope it gets more hype because this is a great novel. The second book that I managed to finish was Shadows Cast by Stars by Knutsson. Now this is a future dystopian novel set in North America, and it is in a world where a plague has ravaged humanity. The human population has absolutely been destroyed by plague, and the only people that have natural immunities to the plague are others, also known as indigenous peoples. This is told from the perspective of Cassandra, who is an other. She is half Native American, or probably First Nations people. She's Metis. I don't know much about the Metis people who are from around Vancouver. Knutsson herself is Metis, so she writes this coming from a place of her own experience. This novel blends Native American mythology and culture in this dystopian world in which Native Americans from many tribes are banding together. The main characters, Cassandra and her twin brother Paul, both have gifts of being able to see the spirit. Cassandra can see people's like totem animals, their shades, and Paul has visions of the future. This novel has so much potential to be fantastic. I love the premise of a dystopian in which indigenous peoples are kind of humanity's only hope. I love the protagonist. Cassandra is truly a angsty teenager, and she has this great big gift that she doesn't know what to do with and she doesn't really want. I love the mythology that is woven into this novel. However, this novel really fell flat for me. I'm still deciding if it's a 2.5 or a 3-star read, but it's definitely not more than 3 stars. This plotline was jumbled. It ends really poorly. This should have been 2 books, and I think the author was probably setting herself up for a sequel, but there is no indication she's actually writing a sequel. The last 25 to 30 pages should never have been added. They are weird and awkward and don't make sense with the rest of the story, the way that she's been building the plot arcs. There's just too much going on. Not only is she drawing on mythology from Native Americans from the Pacific Northwest, but she's also incorporating Greek mythology and Arthurian legend, and frankly, it's too much of a jumble. There's just so much going on in this that I don't think there's a lot of clarity of what the plotline is supposed to be and where it's going. And I'm really upset about that because I super wanted this to be a fantastic novel. Another thing that is a personal pet peeve is that insta-love is strong in this book, and that just set me on edge a little bit. I was willing to forgive it, I was willing to kind of move past it, but it just really put a sour taste in my mouth, and the insta-love relationship in this novel just doesn't make sense the way that it's put together. I don't know, this book has so much potential and it just fell flat for me. So like I said, this is only a 2.5, maybe a 3-star, but probably a 2.5-star read for me. But never fear, I ended my Underhyped Reads readathon on a fantastic note, and the final book I was able to finish this week was Starglass by Phoebe North. I read this book. I loved it. I couldn't put it down. I don't read a lot of science fiction, and this is a YA science fiction novel. I have to say, this might have been my favorite read. I mean, I really love the accent season, but this was maybe a 5-star read, somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5-star read for me. Starglass tells the story of 16-year-old Tara and her friends and family who grew up aboard the Ashera. It is a spacecraft that has left Earth after Earth is practically destroyed. She has never known Earth. They have been on this spacecraft zooming towards a new planet for 500 years, so her whole family and everyone she's ever known has lived and grown up and will die on the spacecraft, except they finally get into orbit of the planet, and she is thrust into a lot of intrigue. She witnesses a murder that sets her down this crazy path. She begins to realize that there are people working for a rebellion, and she begins to question things she's always taken as truth. Like, how and why did her mother die? And is blindly following the council orders really the best way to live your life? Starglass is great science fiction. It's readable for people who maybe aren't into science fiction. This deals a lot with biology and the ways that future humans are messing with biology in order to survive a 500-year space flight. This is still a YA novel, and it deals with what it means to be a teenager, what it means to have a rocky relationship with a parent, and to lose a parent and to grieve, what it means to come into who you are as an adult and create your own identity away from the person that your parents want you to be. That's a huge theme of this novel. In a lot of ways, this is a coming-of-age novel. This is also a great political intrigue novel, and it's just fun. The characters are fantastic. I love Tara. I love Rachel. I love Cohen. This is just such a great book. One of the things I think is really worth noting about this book that I loved and I think made this book so fantastic is that everyone aboard the Ashera is of Jewish descent, culturally more than religiously. Jewish religious ideals as cultural maxims are a huge part of this novel. Tikkun Olam, or repair of the world, is a part of their philosophy. There's a lot of talk about mitzvah and doing the right thing, and how doing a mitzvah is important to the life of being a good citizen, and how those two things have gotten interwoven over the years. It's really fascinating. I think my only real complaint about this has to do with Tikkun Olam, because I study religion as an academic, and so I know that Tikkun Olam means repair of the world, and it comes out of the mystic Jewish tradition, but if you don't know that, you miss out on some wonderful rich undertones in this. So that is the only real thing that I don't love about this book. This has a sequel. It's a duology that I am going to be starting probably tonight. I can't wait. I have heard that the sequel to this has a pretty strong love story. This doesn't really. This has some like lovey stuff, but like this is not romance driven at all. So I'm curious to see where she goes in the sequel. And yeah, I cannot recommend Starglass enough. This is so good and it deserves so much more hype than it's gotten. If you like YA science fiction, if you like dystopians, if you like strong female characters and female friendships and just wrestling with what it means to be an emerging adult, this is the book you should read. You should really read it. Go read it. This is my recommendation. Go read this book right now. So that's it. These are the 3 books I was able to get through for my Underhyped Reads readathon that lasted this last week. Let me know if you've read any of these, or are you planning on reading any of these? If any of these sound interesting, I'd love to know your thoughts on them. Let me know what you guys read this week, and let me know if you loved any of the books that you read in your Underhyped Reads readathon, or if, like in my case with Shadows Cast by Stars, that you read a book that maybe is underhyped for a reason. I'd love to know. Hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!